I don't really know why, but I've been thinking a lot about the scene in Tooth and Claw lately where the 10th Doctor speaks with a thick Scottish accent.
Are we in Scotland?
And it's funny because David Tennant is Scottish, so he's using an exaggerated version of his own real-life accent in this scene.
Isn't that right, yeah? Timorous beastie.
And then that got me thinking about some other Doctors and how a lot of them also have certain quirks or traits that are taken directly from the actors that played them, like playing a musical instrument or loving a certain sport. So please join me as I go through all of the Doctors and look over a quirk or trait that they have because of their actor. Some of these are obvious, some are a bit of a stretch, and a handful I have no idea on, but it's all just a bit of fun. Timestamps are below if you want to zoom around to any specific Doctor. And finally, please like this video if you do enjoy because it's taken me so long to make, and a like or a comment really does help a smaller channel like mine. But with all that out of the way, let's take a look at some traits that Doctors share with their actors. Starting with the First Doctor. The stoic and compassionate First Doctor is loved for so many reasons, with the most obvious and important being that he's the original Doctor, and massively formed a lot about what we know about the character.
And you both knocked both Susan and I unconscious.
He's brave in the face of danger and always tries to help and stand up for the oppressed. And while that's great and all that, there is one specific thing that the First Doctor does that we've never seen any other Doctor do, and it's something that came directly from William Hartnell. That thing is smoking. As far as I'm aware, not including any audio adventures or comics, the only time the Doctor is ever seen smoking comes in the very first serial of the show, An Unearthly Child, where the Doctor not only smokes, but he does it with style, smoking his Time Lord tobacco from a big old fancy curved pipe. William Hartnell smoked in his personal life, as did most people at the time, to be fair, and so during the second ever serial of Who to be broadcast on TV, this was a trait also given to the First Doctor. I don't know if it was a conscious character decision to have the Doctor smoke, or maybe Hartnell requested it, or just did it on the day. After this serial though, the Doctor smoking has never been shown again, so either the Doctor immediately gave up or he just continued to smoke off screen. What's most likely is that the producers decided not to show their hero smoking to help the family friendliness of the show, but maybe that's a bit too much credit for 1963. The Ninth Doctor. The Ninth Doctor feels like a warm, reassuring hug to me. He was my first Doctor, so there's a nostalgic safety to him. At the same time, he's a man broken from tragedy, being the regeneration after the one who ended the Time War that gets real dark when he needs to.
Kill yourself.
In real life, Christopher Eccleston came from a working class background, and he's incredibly proud of this. He has great love and admiration for his father, a factory forklift driver for most of his life, who he described as a hard-working, passionate man who loved me very deeply, and I loved him. Due to his background and upbringing and the struggles that came with it, Eccleston has been a constant advocate for the working class and is very vocal about the prejudices and disadvantages that come with it, especially in his line of work as an actor. But nonetheless, it's something that he still claims with pride. And for this reason, the Ninth Doctor was intentionally designed to be a more grounded and working class-esque Doctor. No elaborate costume like some Doctors before him, just a leather jacket, t-shirt, black pants and boots. He gets emotional and real when he needs to because life ain't perfect, even for an alien. He's also the first Doctor to have a northern accent, being from Manchester and using his native voice, with this even being referenced in the show.
If you are an alien, how come you sound like you're from the north?
Lots of planets have a north.
And I think that this is part of the reason, aside from the nostalgia, that Nine does feel like a safe, warm hug to me. He's just relatable. I'm from a working class family and background too, so as a kid I was able to see myself as the Doctor regardless of wealth or status. I didn't know about any of that. I just saw a cool man travelling through time and space. So thanks Nine. I love you. The Third Doctor. The Third Doctor is a confident man of class, a man of science, and a man with fists rated E for everybody. The Third Doctor was your classic 70s action hero, intelligent, articulate, and really quite reassuring to be around. But arguably, his Doctor's most beloved trait is how he loved to throw hands using Venusian Aikido, or karate. I'd heard that the Doctor fighting was a trait straight from John Pertwee because he loved action films and wanted to bring some of that energy to his Doctor. But it's actually a lot cooler than that. Looking quickly at Pertwee's life, he was expelled from one of his schools, he worked as a circus performer riding the Wall of Death in a motorbike with a toothless lion riding with him, he studied at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, served multiple years in the Navy during World War II, and woke up one day after a drunken night out to find a tattoo of a cobra on his arm, which the Third Doctor also has. He then worked with James Bond author Ian Fleming for a super-secretive naval intelligence division and reported directly to Winston Churchill and the Deputy Prime Minister at the time. So the Third Doctor wasn't just an action man because Pertwee liked cool movies, but more so because Jon Pertwee himself was an actual badass in real life. And he's even quoted as saying, "Doctor Who is me, or I am Doctor Who. I play him straight from me." Hell yeah you do, you cool dude. The Fourth Doctor. The eccentric and rarely serious Fourth Doctor is truly brilliant. Tom Baker is incredible in the role, and he's still to this day most classic fans' favourite, and the longest serving Doctor behind the scenes.
Here lies Tom Baker, who made titties tingle.
Which is why it's annoying me so much how I've genuinely struggled to come up with anything for the Fourth Doctor. I thought maybe Tom Baker really liked jelly babies, and that's why he offers them or has them on his person. Nope, apparently he prefers licorice all sorts and isn't a massive fan of jelly babies. And I already knew the iconic scarf design wasn't anything to do with him. He is incredibly expressional, and I was this close to putting that as his trait, but I do also think that some other Doctors are just as expressive, so I don't think it's enough. But maybe that's wrong. This is the first of a few Doctors where I'm going to say, I have no idea, please help me. Let me know in the comments what you think are any distinct traits that Tom Baker brought to the role and that you think work. I'll hot react my favourites and put them in a pinned comment with credit to the commenters, and they will be classified as the official traits for this video. Thank you. The 10th Doctor. The fan favourite and often homicidal 10th Doctor, as mentioned in the intro, is the reason I started thinking about this whole video in the first place. I just love that scene in Tooth and Claw.
Are we in Scotland?
And it's funny, because Tennant is Scottish. It's an exaggerated version of his real voice, but that makes it even better to me. Not only is he Scottish, but he's
Scottish!
We've met it already.
Freedom!
And yeah, that's his trait. He's Scottish and got to use being Scottish in an episode. This one is a bit of a stretch, and I don't really have much else to say about it. I just really like that it happened. That it happened. The 15th Doctor. Spoilers ahead for the most recent season of Doctor Who. When I first started writing the script in late April 2025, 15 was, in my mind, a still relatively new Doctor. And then, as I was finishing the script a few weeks later, he's now a regenerated Doctor. With a tenure not really much longer than the 9th, Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor made a mark as a loyal and energetic friend whose emotions were on full display and often what drove his character, for better or worse. And although his Doctor does have a lot of quirks like crying a lot or displaying grand fits of emotion, I think there's one quite distinct thing that stands out compared to every other Doctor that came before him. And that's how he has a new outfit for pretty much every adventure. Sure, other Doctors would dress up occasionally or evolve their signature looks over time, but nothing like the 15th Doctor, who actively relishes in dressing up for different times, periods, or locations. And Ncuti is largely to thank for this trait. He's arguably the most fashionable actor to ever play the Doctor and is constantly, as they say, serving at fashion events, red carpets, or premieres. I don't understand a lot of the looks, but that's how I know it's fashion. It's not meant for me. Ncuti said in an interview that when he was going in for his initial outfit discussions with costume designer Pam Downey, he was told to prepare a look of how he envisioned his Doctor should dress. I went in and showed the producers and they were like, "This is lovely, what else have you got?" And I was like, oh. He then worked with the costume department to create an entire wardrobe for the 15th Doctor, using his knowledge and experience of the fashion world to come up with a lot of really great looks for 15. And what I like about this the most is it's made a fairly significant character trait wherein 15 really just likes to dress up or dress accordingly to the time or place the TARDIS has landed. The iconic orange spacesuit that Doctors 10, 11, 12 and 13 have worn? Never heard of it. Give me sleek. Give me sexy. Costumes of 15 is actually such a large part of his character that in his final episode Wish World, there's actually an entire sequence where after 15 breaks free from the lies and remembers who he is, he changes from one of the conformative pinstripe suits into a dope-ass kilty two-piece thing through the power of pure sass alone. And that's big 15 energy. The Second Doctor. Patrick Troughton's Second Doctor really deserves a lot of credit for proving the show could continue with a new actor after William Hartnell was replaced. Having to earn fans' trust while building a personality of his own, different enough that people wouldn't think he was copying Hartnell, but Doctor-ish enough to feel like it was a continuation of the same character. As part of this, the Second Doctor was a fair bit quirkier and more aloof than his more stoic predecessor, and one of these quirks is that he often carried around and played a pretty hardcore musical instrument. The recorder. Sometimes played to help himself think, or just to amuse himself, the Second Doctor plays the recorder quite a few times throughout his tenure. Not always just for music either, as he's used it as a blowpipe to blow powder on a bad guy, and modified it into a spyglass to spy on people. Patrick Troughton is said to have been an amateur recorder player in real life, so when it came time to craft his version of the Doctor, there was an idea to make him a bit more Chaplin-esque, or as he was lovingly referred to, a cosmic hobo. It just seemed to fit his Doctor to carry around a recorder and take the piss a little bit when there were deadly threats around the corner. All thanks to Troughton playing it in his personal life. Since the second Doctor, the recorder has popped up from time to time, with the fifth Doctor even trying it out but deciding it wasn't for him.
No.
There are other musical doctors with talents of their own though, as we'll get to a little later. The 13th Doctor. This one is a tricky one because I know that so many people love the 13th Doctor, however for me, 13 just ain't it. I don't think she ever found herself and was just sort of lost in inconsistent character traits, beliefs and morals. Through no fault of Jodie Whittaker I should add, it's mostly just poor writing and showrunnering, or as I like to call it, hidden away. 13 does of course have some incredible moments where she really shines, but for me they are so few and far between that it's quite hard to pull anything from her. Other than general quirkiness, I genuinely don't know what other traits or special skills or whatever 13 has. But I think regardless of that, there is a trump card in terms of what she brings to the Doctor overall. And I want to be incredibly clear that I'm not saying this in any way to dismiss or reduce Jodie Whittaker's identity as simply woman, but more so as a way to celebrate it within the show. So the trait for this one is that she is the first female Doctor. Jodie Whittaker had the almost impossible job of being the first female Doctor, something that for a long time looked like it would never happen outside the curse of fatal death. And I think that being the first actress to take this on is pretty damn brave and commendable, especially for the shit she got for it. Opening a classic role model to a gender who maybe couldn't ever see themselves as the Doctor before, as the last 12 plus had all been dudes. She got a lot of hate and really stupid backlash from her casting, because in a show where people suspend disbelief to accept two-hearted aliens that travel in time and space, making that alien have boobies is a step too far. But Jodie overcame all the shit and did it anyway. Regardless of what I think about 13's characterization, I'm really glad we got her, and I'm glad the wider Whoniverse opened up a bit. You can't put that cork back in there now, female Doctors will forever exist, and it's thanks in large part to Jodie. I didn't want to disrespect her trait as just she is a woman, but I think it's the most important thing she's personally brought to the role. She took the first step so that others can do it in her wake and became a role model to a hell of a lot of people. Which is why I think it's such a shame that her character was mishandled the way it was. Chibnall! The 8th Doctor. The 8th Doctor is a tricky one to nail down for me. As for all my videos, I only really include what's in the show itself and tend not to include lore or details from audio adventures or expanded media. So in 8's case, all I really have to work with is the TV movie, Night of the Doctor, and the power of the Doctor, which makes it really hard for me to pin down something that's a trait directly from Paul McGann himself. He's dashing and handsome, well yeah obviously, but I don't think that's enough. He doesn't wear robes? Oh, there's always one. This is another where I'm going to throw my hands up and say I have no idea. Please help me. Let me know in the comments if you think there are any distinct traits that Paul McGann brings to the role, because I'm coming up blank. Audio adventures included. Why not? Thank you. The 11th Doctor. The 11th Doctor was a madman in a box. He felt deliberately more alien than 10, who was one of the more human Doctors. 11 did, however, like the 5th Doctor, have a certain affinity for a particular human sport. Coming in with the blokiest trait on the list, the 11th Doctor really seemed to like and was pretty good at a bit of football. We only see the 11th Doctor play football a handful of times, but given that the first appearance of this is an entire almost 2-minute long sequence of the Doctor just smashing it and having a whale of a time playing football in the lodger, this is a no-brainer to me. The Doctor's skill is shown in full effect and the crowd love him. They even start chanting his bloody name. A group of people chanting the word Doctor for a guy none of them know. Matt Smith actually wanted to be a professional footballer before becoming an actor, but due to a spinal defect he was forced to stop pursuing that career path and eventually became the actor and Doctor we now love.
Oh yeah, God, I wish I was a footballer, Chris. I loved it.
He still dabbles in a bit of footy though, of course, as seen in Doctor Who. This is a bit of a tangent, but I remember being like 11 years old and reading in a random magazine of my mum's that Doctor Who had been filming a football sequence with James Corden for the 11th Doctor's first series in 2010. I excitedly showed a family friend who would visit on Saturdays and he was like, nah, that'll be for the new sports show James Corden's doing, referencing a league of their own, and dismissed it big time. And I was like, no, it really is for Doctor Who, it's the same crew and TV cameras and everything. And then he asked the room and his fiancée, my mum and my brother all said, nah, that'll be for the sports show, Doctor Who would never have a football sequence. And then the lodger came out and guess what, Stephen? It's the fucking scene I read and told you about was a Doctor Who thing, you fucking spickled dick. The Doctor also does some keepy-uppies in The Power of Three while waiting on Earth and losing his mind waiting for the cubes to do something. The Seventh Doctor. The Seventh Doctor I would describe as a dark but wacky individual. He's one of those aloof people that's always happy and friendly to be around, so when they get dark and serious, you know it's going down. And as his tenure goes on, the darker he tends to get.
Louise! Stay still! Will you stay still? You idiots! I don't have any times, I gotta tell.
But very early on, as part of his wacky demeanour and following in the footsteps of his quirky space hobo's previous incarnation, the Seventh Doctor was also quite fond of a musical instrument. Kind of. Because Seven played the spoons. Though only seen a couple of times before disappearing from the show, the Seventh Doctor is quite adept at playing spoons, as in the eating utensil, as musical instruments. He even plays them in his very first episode as the Doctor, Time and the Rani. I think this was just easy shorthand for saying once again, whoa, look how wacky and zany this guy is. Which does work, especially as the Doctor was most likely going through some post-regenerative funk as this incarnation was like a day old. Sylvester McCoy plays the spoons himself in real life and explained during a Q&A that he learnt by watching a different man play the spoons in a pub. He asked the man how he did it, the man showed him, and then as Sylvester McCoy says, "I did it and that was it. I became a spoon player." This was undoubtedly added or suggested by McCoy himself because at every convention or panel, on movie sets, on the streets, or even in your house when you wake up, he's always playing the bloody spoons. He even campaigned to Peter Jackson to let him play the spoons in the Hobbit films where he played Radagast the Brown, even bringing wooden spoons to better fit the tone of Middle-earth. Sadly, it was never included in the films. Sorry Sylvester, you're still my spoony superstar. The 12th Doctor. The 12th Doctor is the coolest space grandpa you could ever have. I love him. And just like some of his predecessors, he's also a musical doctor. But as he's the coolest of space grandpas, he doesn't play the recorder or kitchen utensils. 12 came to play, and he brought his electric guitar. The 12th Doctor's guitar is first seen in Peter Capaldi's second season as the Doctor, where 12's having a bit of a crisis and rocking out in the Middle Ages, riding a tank for extra credit. He later plays Pretty Woman directed at Missy, that dirty dog. He plays some Beethoven while explaining what a bootstrap paradox is and breaking my brain. He plays Wish You Were Here when he's sad a couple episodes later, and also Amazing Grace when he's chilling in the TARDIS. And after losing all of his memories of Clara at the end of the season, he's a bit sad and confused, wandering the Nevada desert. He writes a song and plays it for the nice waitress, and he doesn't seem too sure, but he thinks it's called Clara. In 12's next season, he plays Beethoven again, this time in his uni office, and he's even playing live guitar with a band where Bill meets her puddle girlfriend for the first time, which you can see more of in a deleted scene. It's a more metal version of the song he wrote a season earlier, Clara. It's also referenced in his Regeneration episode where the first Doctor sees it and notices it's the only thing in the TARDIS that's been cleaned. Peter Capaldi plays electric guitar in his personal life, having done so since he was a teenager. He said that the punk explosion happened when he was around 18, so he loved that scene, rock and roll, and David Bowie in particular. He was in a punk rock band called the Dream Boys in the 80s, and they released an EP which you can find on YouTube. And more recently, Peter Capaldi has released 2 studio albums, St. Christopher in 2021 and Sweet Illusions in 2025. And fun fact, he's Lewis Capaldi's second cousin, once removed. Capaldi said he sort of half-jokingly mentioned his guitar-playing abilities to Stephen Moffat as a possibility for his Doctor. And then, when he read the script for the first episode of Season 9, he was over the moon to see that he would be playing one. Well, so was I, Peter. Keep being cool. The War Doctor. The War Doctor is a sneaky little retcon doctor, being the one to fight in and eventually end the last Great Time War, supposedly killing all Daleks and Time Lords alike. The War Doctor's only appearance in the show is in the 50th anniversary special, The Day of the Doctor, which, like the 8th Doctor, makes it a bit hard to nail a trait down. Except there is a bit of a cheat code here, at least to me, because the War Doctor was played by Sir John Hurt. Legendary actor with an iconic voice to match, this one is a bit of a stretch maybe, but I've decided that the biggest trait he shares or brings to the Doctor is his voice. Acting since the early 60s, before Doctor Who was even on the air yet, John Hurt is an iconic British acting talent. So much so that he was reportedly the only actor even considered for the part of the War Doctor after Eccleston declined to come back as the 9th. He has so many iconic roles, and to name just a few, there's the Harry Potter series, 1984, Alien, The Elephant Man, and most importantly, he's the f***ing dragon from Merlin. I've spent an entire day looking for a clip I'm certain I remember seeing of David Tennant and Matt Smith being interviewed and talking about John Hurt, where Tennant refers to his voice as treacle or like sex, but I can't find this clip anywhere. Maybe I imagined it, but either way, the statement stands. With a voice like smooth gravel, it helps bring a level of gravitas to the War Doctor, but also a great sense of pain and trauma. His voice really does help portray a man beaten down by time and war. A time war. I guess I'll settle for this clip of Matt Smith.
Just give this a John, because he'll make that sound.
Yeah.
That voice.
Yeah.
That voice indeed. The Fifth Doctor. The Fifth Doctor was intended to bring some youthful energy to the Doctor after the Fourth Doctor's long 7-year tenure came to an end. Peter Davison, being the youngest actor to play the Doctor at the time though, wasn't enough, so producers were left wondering, what screams youthful adventurer? How do we visually showcase that this new, younger Doctor is a totally rad and bodacious dude? Oh, of course! Let's use the thing that the kids can't stop talking about and everybody loves. Synonymous with cool times and high-octane action, it's cricket. I'm obviously taking the a little bit here, but the Fifth Doctor is very much tied to cricket thanks to Peter Davison, being a big fan and amateur player himself. John Nathan Turner, longtime Doctor Who producer or Doctor Who ruiner, depending on how you see him, saw a picture of Peter Davison in his cricket whites taken after a game and decided that this was the youthful and eccentric look he wanted for the Fifth Doctor. Although Peter Davison does claim it was mostly his idea. So the Fifth Doctor's costume was designed to look like a variation of an Edwardian cricketer's kit. Though, looking at old pictures of Edwardian cricket kits, the word variation is being put to good use here as quite a lot of these pictures don't look anything like Five's costume. The fact that Peter Davison liked cricket also resulted in the Fifth Doctor's first ever announcement pictures being also of him in costume and cricketed up with a wicket painted on the TARDIS that people took turns throwing balls at. Poor little TARDIS. The Fifth Doctor of course also plays cricket during a lovely murder mystery getaway in the story Black Orchid when the Doctor turns up, is basically told he's late for a cricket match, rolls with it and has a great time. Many fun. And if you want to see another even weirder reason that Black Orchid is a wild episode, please check out my video The Death of Pure Historicals. Please. Nobody watched it and it took me like 5 months to make. Please, 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 please. The Fugitive Doctor. Like the 8th and more Doctors before her, or after, I guess, timeline-wise, the Fugitive Doctor has very little screen time in the show and sort of just pops up from time to time in other Doctors' adventures. For this reason, she's another Doctor who I just have no idea. Played by the wonderful Jo Martin, the Fugitive Doctor is another retcon Doctor who's actually from before even the first Doctor, with the Fugitive Doctor then hiding as a human on the 21st century using a chameleon circuit, with even the Doctor unaware of this secret life. I just said Doctor too many times. I don't really like the story or the retcons that come with the Fugitive Doctor, but I do really like Jo Martin. She's got the look and the vibes and does feel very Doctor-y. There's a presence to her that just works, and I do wish we had more of her to actually build from. But there just isn't enough for me to ascertain anything directly that she gives to her Doctor because there's so little of her. This is the last one where I'm going to say I have no idea. Please help me. Please let me know in the comments if you think there are any distinct traits that Jo Martin brings to the role because I have no idea at all. We'll heart rate out my favourite and put it in a pinned comment. Thank you. The 14th Doctor. The 14th Doctor is a wild and still slightly confusing old face on a new body. That old face being of the 10th Doctor. And if the 10th Doctor's trait of simply being Scottish was a bit of a stretch, then the 14th Doctor's trait might as well be Mr. Fantastic. Behind the scenes, David Tennant was brought back as a new incarnation of the Doctor for the show's 60th anniversary celebrations because during lockdown watch parties, RTD, David Tennant and Catherine Tate all fancied another go. At the same time, Chibnall and Jodie were both leaving anyway, so it all kinda worked out. But also, here's the thing. The 10th Doctor is an all-time fan favourite Doctor of New Who, and probably all of Who at this point. There's no doubt in my mind that the decision to bring Tennant back, regardless of who he was playing, was also very intently done with the idea of building hype and bringing back older fans for the 60th anniversary. So that's Tennant's trait for the 14th Doctor. He's the fan favourite, and he came back to the show to prove it. To be fair, Tennant's loyalty to the show really is admirable. The BBC will have him doing this till he's 90. The 6th Doctor. The 6th Doctor was designed to intentionally be a ruder, more arrogant, and overall more d***ish Doctor than audiences were used to sharply contrast against the youthful friendliness of the 5th Doctor. At least at first, anyway. 6 warms up over time and is actually quite lovable, but still often overlooked, with Colin Baker only lasting a short while before being fired pretty unjustly behind the scenes. I struggled a little bit about what was the best thing that Colin brought to the 6th Doctor, but thinking about it, it struck me, and it does seem pretty obvious, even if it's something that Colin Baker is on the record as not liking. And that is being a villain. Colin Baker's first major acting role came in the 1970s BBC TV show The Brothers, where he played one of the lead baddies on the show, the ruthless and villainous banker Paul Maroney. The trouble was, Colin was pretty damn good at the role, which led to him continually being typecast as villains and baddies, not allowing him lighter and more comedic roles that he was actively looking for. He was even in Doctor Who before he played the Doctor as a bad guy, where once again his acting impressed so much that he was brought back by John Nathan Turner to play the Sixth Doctor, both deciding that a darker iteration of the character would be a good contrast. Unfortunately, this intentional darker tone caused a bit of an uproar and backlash, and this is what eventually led to his removal from the show altogether due to negative feedback on his Doctor. His typecast got him the role, and it's also the reason he lost it. Life's a bitch. Sorry, Colin. And there we go, that's all the Doctor's traits done and dusted, except for the ones I couldn't really think of and the ones that are very much a stretch. Please let me know what you think the traits for the 4th, 8th and Fugitive Doctors should be, and as mentioned, I'll heart rate my favourites and pop them in a pinned comment with credit to the commenters. This video started as just a bit of fun and kind of expanded until it became this bad boy. If you've made it this far, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribe to see any of my future videos. And finally, I'd like to give a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members, Ruben Williamson, Thomas Spencer, Lil Seahorse, Mao, and Unfunny Jog. If you'd like to support me, then please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching, love you, bye.
I'm the Golden Goose.